I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Trump's in the former president's hush money trial. The defense focused their cross-examination on Cohen's relationship with Trump, including when it began to decline. House Speaker Mike Johnson attacked Cohen's character after showing up to the courthouse in support of Trump.
This is a man who is clearly on a mission for personal revenge and who is widely known as a witness who has trouble with the truth.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken pledged unwavering support to Ukraine during a trip to Kyiv Tuesday. Blinken met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky amid a fierce Russian offensive. The U.S.'s top diplomat says some long-awaited U.S. military assistance has arrived in Ukraine after months of delays.
I have come to Ukraine with a message. You are not alone. The United States has been by your side from day one.
Authorities in Florida have arrested the driver of a truck, killing at least 8. Brian McLean Howard faces DUI manslaughter charges. Troopers say Howard crossed into the center lane, sideswiping the bus, sending it off the road before it overturned. Those are headlines now. Here's your weather on the ones.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. We'll be tracking some unsettled weather moving across the eastern half of the country overnight through Wednesday morning. You can see here 7 o'clock right around New York, basically the East Coast, the Ohio Valley, the Dakotas, and then these storms will slowly move across the east as we go throughout the day. Wednesday night, some storms start to pop up right around the Central Plains, where temperatures will start off in the 60s there, mild in Vegas, 70s across the south, and then very hot with 80s and 90s.
As well, intense moments inside a Manhattan courtroom as cross-examination of Michael Cohen continued Tuesday. Over the course of 2 days, Cohen has detailed the alleged hush money scheme involving adult film actress Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. Trump's lawyers pressed Cohen about his views of the former president, including previous comments made about him. Spectrum's Dan Rivoli is outside the courtroom with a look at the fiery exchanges.
Just to give an idea of the tone of the cross-examination, Donald Trump's defense attorney Todd Blanche asked Michael Cohen about a social media post of his in which he insults Todd Blanche. Blanche even using the profanity that Michael Cohen used in open court. That led to more questions about Michael Cohen's use of social media to talk about Donald Trump, the trial, and how he profits off all of it, from his TikTok account, his podcast, even selling merchandise. Meanwhile, Cohen also tested out the case. That's something Michael Cohen disregarded because he continued to appear on television, speak to reporters, and discuss the case on social media. Meanwhile, Todd Blanche also questioned Michael Cohen about admitting to the fact that he lied to Congress regarding the investigation into Russia and Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, and his guilty pleas to federal crimes over facilitating the hush money payments to 2 women who alleged affairs with Donald Trump and unrelated tax crimes. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has refrained from criticizing Michael Cohen since he's been put on notice for violating the gag order, but he's had plenty of supporters from the Republican Party to do the trash talking for him. And today, that includes Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy, who ran for the Republican nomination for president and is now a Trump supporter.
The crime that they are accusing President Trump of is falsification. He is not the bookkeeper for his company. President Trump is innocent of these charges. And again, anyone with common sense can understand what is happening here. In the midst of all this nonsense and corruption, they have placed a ridiculous and unprecedented gag order on President Trump.
The prosecution's main strategy appears to be to bore the jurors into submission. And if you look in that direction, sadly, it may appear to actually be working.
Before the cross-examination got underway, one of the questions the prosecutor asked Michael Cohen was whether he had any regrets about his work for Donald Trump. And he said while he had no regrets about the work he did for the Trump Organization, when it came to Donald Trump, he said to keep the loyalty and to do the things he had asked me to do, they violated my moral compass, and I suffered the penalty, as has my family. In New York City, Dan Rivoli, Spectrum News.
As Dan mentioned, House Speaker Mike Johnson is to support the former president. Spectrum's Taylor Popolars explains why it's an opportunity for them to show their loyalty to Trump and potentially an audition to be his running mates.
House Speaker Mike Johnson on Tuesday became the highest-ranking Republican to visit Donald Trump at his hush money trial in New York, the first criminal trial of a former U.S. president.
I am disgusted by what is happening here, what is being done here to our entire system of justice overall.
Johnson is the 11th prominent Republican in the last week to appear by Trump's side, a notable difference after the former president spent weeks appearing solo before and after court.
Donald Trump is all about image, and not having anybody there to defend him, I think, certainly is something that has frustrated him there in the first few weeks of the trial.
It started last week when Florida Senator Rick Scott became the first member of Congress to visit Trump at the courthouse, an opportunity to live in the case that Trump has been barred from speaking about.
What he is going through is just despicable.
On Monday, 5 more Republicans showed up, including Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, who's in the running to be Trump's pick for vice president.
I think this trial is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's a sham prosecution.
Tuesday's visitors included 2 men who unsuccessfully ran for president but are seen as potential Trump running mates. Vivek Ramaswamy.
This is a politicized persecution that is nakedly apparent.
And North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum.
You can see it's actually a scam trial.
Political scientist Robert Alexander says it's unsurprising that ambitious Republicans are rushing to stand with Trump, who may become president again despite the array of criminal charges against him.
Everything that we've ever been told about Trump is that he really values loyalty. There's no doubt that this is a bit of an audition for a number of them.
A Trump campaign official tells Spectrum News the surrogates have volunteered to come to court to support their friend and that the President Joe Biden and his campaign are not saying much about Trump's trial, and they've declined to comment on the Republicans who are now showing up at it. Professor Alexander says it's likely a calculation.
If it's about Trump, Joe Biden's chances are much better to win re-election. If it's about Joe Biden's chances for re-election are not as strong.
In Washington, Taylor Popolars, Spectrum News.
Overseas now to the war in Ukraine. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky just weeks after the U.S. announced new military aid for the country. As Spectrum's Evan Kozlov reports, Blinken is vowing U.S. support as Russia continues a fierce offensive.
The top U.S. diplomat, Antony Blinken, making a surprise trip to Ukraine. So good to see you. Meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky to lend support in the face of a new offensive by Russia.
I have come to Ukraine alone.
It's going to make It's going to make America safer.
The visit comes 3 weeks after President Joe Biden signed legislation providing more than $60 billion in military assistance after being held up for months by Congress. The European Union also chipping in, approving $54 billion in military aid. Blinken saying on Tuesday that some of the new U.S. aid has already started to arrive.
We want Ukraine to win, and we're committed to helping you do it.
But the visit comes at a perilous time for Ukraine as Russian forces make major advances in the northeast, leading to more than 7,000 Ukrainians being evacuated from communities outside of Kharkiv.
Antony Blinken.
Back in Kyiv, a moment of levity at a local nightclub when Secretary Blinken was invited on stage to join a local band performing a fitting song, Neil Young's Rockin' for the Free World.
And as Russia intensifies its attacks in Ukraine, the country's president, Vladimir Putin, is planning a dip, the latest sign of a growing alignment between the two U.S. rivals. In Washington, I'm Evan Kozlov, Spectrum News.
A bus crash in Florida, leaving several farm workers dead. Just ahead, what officers say caused the vehicle to overturn.
Spectrum News Plus, news from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
We know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes.
In foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos, and we'll be tracking some stormy weather once again across the Central Plains, the Northeast, and also down into the Southeast. Here, Orlando, Tampa, you've got these storms that will come across. And some storms as we go throughout the day Wednesday popping up around the Carolinas as well. So Charlotte, Wilmington, Charleston, all fair game for any of these scattered thunderstorms to move across the area. Then late in the day Wednesday, let's say around noon, watch what starts to develop over Dallas and then pushes across the Gulf here as we go throughout the day, overnight into Friday morning. And some of these storms could produce some excessive rainfall that could lead to some flash flooding. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to stay weather alert over the next few days here. Now in the Northeast, your Wednesday morning, 8, 9, 10 o'clock starting off wet. You can see some of those storms moving across the Virginias, and then eventually at 9 o'clock right across the East Coast. So New York, Kingston, Boston, Surf City, Philadelphia, all have a good chance of picking up some of these, some of this rainfall. Thursday afternoon, just off the coast there. Then we'll be watching what's going to be moving across the morning. And there you see those storms coming across Indiana and also Kansas and Missouri. Now, the severe weather outlook for Tuesday, you could see where there was a slight chance for some severe weather there around Tennessee. It moves over to Oklahoma on Wednesday and even down in Florida with those pop-up storms in the afternoon. And then for Thursday, you could see it all across Texas again. That's where we could get some excessive rainfall leading to some flooding. Syracuse, New York, I've got rain for you on Wednesday, drier after that and warmer too. Cincinnati, Ohio, your driest day over the next 3 will be Thursday with temperatures in the 80s. Charlotte, North Carolina, a very similar pattern there. And St. Louis, Missouri, stormy for Thursday, Friday.
Florida police have arrested the driver of a truck, charging him a DUI mando. At least 8 people, all farm workers on their way to work, were killed. Spectrum's Jeff Allen is on the ground with the latest.
A devastating scene on a rural 2-lane road near Ocala where a crash sent a bus through a fence onto a horse farm on its side. Several of the migrant farm workers on that bus dead, dozens injured. It's a day that will change many families forever.
This is the death that is a shock to you, and it's going to be hard on them, and rightfully so because they just lost a loved one.
The sheriff says this time of year it's not uncommon to have large numbers of migrant workers in Marion County.
Everything that I have been told at this point, they all have what they need to be here. There's no reason for me to be involved with these individuals. They're hard-working individuals, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with them being here.
Investigators say it could be 6 months before they can determine what exactly caused this crash. A woman who lives near 40, she says it's a dangerous stretch of roadway.
Not uncommon to have this road closed down because of fatalities, a lot of motorcyclists, a lot of single, fatalities, but not of this magnitude. 8 people in one morning is definitely a record. You know, it's definitely sad.
The sheriff says population growth is creating traffic problems.
About the growth that's happening here in the state, here in Marion County, the amount of traffic is a problem. We are always out here. We're constantly with FHP doing everything we can to monitor traffic and hopefully curb and prevent stuff like this.
In Marion County, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.
The former interpreter for Los Angeles Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani pleaded not guilty Tuesday to bank and tax fraud, nearly $17 million from Ohtani to pay off sports gambling debts. Mizuhara has already agreed to a plea deal. The not guilty plea is seen as a formality in the case. Shootings involving police in Ohio over the weekend left 4 people dead, including an officer, and another officer injured. It comes as a new FBI report out shows 194 officers were killed in the line of duty from 2021 to 2023. The FBI says that's more than any other consecutive 3-year period in the past 20 years. The number of officers assaulted and injured by guns also reached a 10-year high, according to the report. As tensions remain high between law enforcement and the communities they serve, Spectrum's Kennedy Chase spoke to experts about preventing these incidents from happening so often.
So this is the reality of the dangers our officers face.
And once again, Brian Steele and his end.
This is 2 days in a row. It just shows that violent crime is still a problem. Attacks on police is still a problem in society.
3 separate incidents in central and northeast Ohio ended with police fatally shooting 3 suspects. Meanwhile, 2 officers were shot as well, including Euclid officer Jacob Durbin, who died.
There's a moral decline in our society, and so I think that's really what contributes to it. People are not as kind, as patient, as compassionate, and not as respectful of those who wear the uniform.
Patrick Oliver runs the criminal justice program at Cedarville University. He says he's seen the relationship between police and communities change over the years, from what used to be a partnership to what now can be adversarial.
Police want the community members to see them as their partners, right? In fact, in all communities across America, the police are the community and the community are the police, incumbent upon every citizen.
Despite shootings by police over the last few years leading some people to lose trust in law enforcement, a poll by Quinnipiac University in 2023 found nearly 2/3 of respondents trust that police do what's right most of the time. Daniel Flannery, the director of Begun Center for Violence and Prevention, says he believes solving the problem starts with getting guns off the street.
We have an increased number of firearms out on the streets with people able to carry and conceal carry without a permit or without training.
For Spectrum News, I'm Kennedy Chase.
Coming up on Spectrum News, first responders pushing to be more energy efficient. How one Wisconsin fire department will be the first to operate an electric fire engine.
Election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Two, three. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
our back and forth, it always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Thunderstorms part of the forecast over the next few days. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos, and no surprise, this is the time of year when we do see this, especially over the plains, the southeast and the northeast. Flash flooding is possible, especially across the Gulf states there on Thursday as some excessive rainfall comes through that area. And then above average temperatures expected to continue over the west, southern Florida, and also the northeast. So looking at temperatures here, notice Portland, 80 degrees, warmer than Southern California. Denver, some rain with mid-60s, even some thunderstorms in the mix there. And we've got thunderstorms in the forecast for you in Louisville in the 70s, Tampa, and New York as well, with temperatures there in the 60s and in the 80s. And we are feeling a lot of those above average temperatures. So you see there 4 to 7 degrees above average for our Wednesday, about 12 degrees above average in Miami. Boston, 7 degrees above average, and also very warm in Seattle and Portland by 7 to 11 degrees. In the meantime, Southern California, 9 degrees below average. So temperatures there, even in downtown Los Angeles, which is a little farther inland from the coast, 60s, whereas I mentioned Portland and Seattle will be in the 80s and 70s, and then a whole bunch of 80s and 90s in Texas, basically across the South. Now, the next 7 days here in Portland, Oregon, you've got 80 degrees for your Wednesday, and then hang in there. You've got some relief from that heat coming Thursday on through next week, where those temperatures will be below average. Dallas, Texas, a 90-degree day for Wednesday. Perhaps for some, it will be record-breaking. Thursday, Friday, and Thursday the coolest over the next 7, and then gradually warming up to more average temperatures for Friday into next week with more 90s. Coming back. So if you have any outdoor plans, do take that into consideration. You may want to have an indoor component to that. Charlotte, North Carolina, Wednesday, upper 70s. And you'll see basically hovering right around the upper 70s, low 80s for the next several days. So that's going to be close to your average temperature. And in Los Angeles, all below average here for the next 7 here for downtown LA. 74 is the average. And it's all because of the marine layer cloud cover that basically delays the heating of the day. Speaking of temperatures, the Climate Prediction Center's temperature outlook, May 21st to the 27th. This is warmer than average outlook. In the meantime, out west, cooler than average. That'll include Southern California.
Nearly by medical providers last year. That's according to a survey by abortion rights group Society for Family Planning. It shows providers in states with protections prescribe pills monthly through mail to thousands of women in states with bans in place. Another 8,000 women in states without abortion bans receive pills through mail each month through virtual appointments. New York City officials have temporarily shut down a live video portal less than a week after it opened. It connected people in New York to the city of Dublin, Ireland, but inappropriate behavior by some forced officials to step in. The Dublin City Council says the portal creators are looking into technical solutions to help mute such behavior. Fire departments in Wisconsin will be one of the first in the state to operate an all-electric fire engine. They're expected to replace a diesel rig in 2 years. Spectrum's Megan Marshall reports on the department.
As we start to see more and more electric vehicles on the roads, some fire departments are making that same transition with their fleet of vehicles. The future of emergency response looks like this.
Just like that, we're running off solar.
Charging is done right at the fire station in Superior.
It's a really exciting thing to see. It's really a reinvention of the platform that we work off of to deliver our services.
Superior's Assistant Fire Chief Howard Huber says the electric vehicles are a game changer. With fewer moving parts and the absence of flammable fuel, electric vehicles are considered less prone to common safety concerns.
They are better in almost every way that I can think of. They're safer, they're more agile, they're quieter, they do less damage to the roads, and they have all the capabilities that our giant diesel trucks have without.
Further, on the roof are solar energy panels paid for with grant money. These power 150% of the building's electricity. The leftover is used to charge the EV vehicles they have.
When we can cut down on the amount of gasoline we're using, it helps our budget. When we can cut down on diesel fuel, it helps. And then also maintenance costs with these vehicles are much lower than a regular, gas-powered vehicle.
This is the photo of the electric fire rig they plan to add to their fleet in 2026. It's smaller than a typical fire truck. Charging it from 0 to full power takes about 45 minutes, and backup energy system kicks in whenever the batteries drop to 20%, even during a rescue operation.
Moving to a smarter platform for firefighting, it's the right thing to do. It's responsible. It's I think it's it serves our communities better than just to keep doing it.
In Superior, Megan Marshall, Spectrum News.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters. Streaming live on your smart TV and connected devices, plus on-demand weather forecasts. Local stories connecting communities. Exclusively for Spectrum customers. Now available on your favorite devices.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.